Hey guys, it's Kylie Stewart, and I will be doing the Q&A questions that Heather has put out for Audio Loves for the YouTube channel and also for the page. And yeah, we're going to be talking about everything narration, and a lot of these questions are really good, and I haven't even thought to answer them in my own video, so fantastic. Some of these questions will be answered here. So again, my name is Kylie Stewart. I'm an audiobook narrator and an author, but my full-time job is narrator. I'm also one half of the duo Eros Audio. I do Eros Audio with my husband Eric Roland, and he will also be doing a video with these similar questions, but he's gonna be doing his own because we do a lot of videos together, so this one will be just me. So the first question is, what inspired you to want to become a narrator, or me to become a narrator? It's a long, complicated story. I'll just give you the long and short of it. I wanted to become a voice actor or a voice actress, and one of my mentors, Eric Stewart, when I was working with him and doing kind of a class routine with him to learn the ins and outs of the voice acting industry, how to behave in a booth, how to audition for commercials, how to read copy for commercials, how to do a demo CD and cut my first demo CD for commercials with Eric Stewart. He said, you know, since you love reading so much and you're already writing, why don't you check out ACX and do some audiobooks for some quick cash if you're interested in that sort of thing. And I thought about it for a while, and finally got set up with my first microphone and decided, why not? I'll just give it a go. And I sent all my auditions out into cyberspace. I think I had about 7 I started with, and I waited about a week and a half almost a week and a half, and I thought to myself, oh well, I guess, you know, this whole reading out loud thing isn't for me. And I got about 5 or 6 offers back. And then from there, it's just steamrolled into being a part-time extra money for trips, student loans, weddings, type of a thing to, yeah, that's what I do for a living. I'm a voice actress and I read audiobooks. So it's super rewarding, and it's the perfect place for me to be as a reader and a writer. I get to see what's up and coming, what's hot. I get to work with amazing authors, and yeah, it's been smooth sailing ever since. So that is how I stumbled upon it. Number 2 is who inspired me to become a voice actor or a narrator. I would have to say, because this is just me, and I'm a huge nerd, so I'm gonna be honest. Anime. I love Japanese anime. I think it's beautiful. I think it's able to capture so much more adult content and storylines portrayed through a cartoon-esque type drawing or portrayal. And the voice acting that goes behind the Japanese anime is wonderful. You're not only having to act as this character, but you're having to match mouth flaps because it's already pre-dubbed in Japan, so you have to make your words match the mouth flaps. And I got into anime at late in life. 22 years old I got into it, and from there it really took off for me, watching anything and everything that I could to get my hands on, and really realized that I wanted to be a voice actress in this industry. And one of the people who truly inspired me to come into this industry was a man by the name of Eric Vale, who, if you guys have watched Dragon Ball Z, I mean, he's Trunks. He has been a wonderful mentor for myself and my husband, and also Eric Stewart, who is all over Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! If you've ever watched those, for my fellow nerdlings out there. But those 2 guys really took the time to have the serious sit-down conversation of, This is what it takes to be a voice actor. This is what you have to do. And, you know, you have to love what you do. Because it's as rewarding as it is, it's not a lucrative industry. And I've been so lucky to be able to do audiobooks in that instance, in that kind of a gap, because I have yet to continue and pursue, which I'm planning on. I'm so busy with audiobooks right now, I haven't been able to move into the proper channel to audition for anything of the audio, the anime or the video game nature. So in the future I definitely plan to do all of that such, but those are the two guys who really inspired me to go for it, and gave me kind of the fire under my butt that I needed to come into this realm of voice acting and audio narration. Ooh, number 3. If you could have lunch with any person alive or dead, who would it be? There's 2 for this one. One is my grandfather, who I never met. He died a year after my parents were married in 1982, and I never met him. He's from Scotland. He had a Scottish accent, and I would love to have lunch with him, and I would also love to have lunch with Princess Diana, or Catherine and the Duchess of Cambridge. Either one would do. I would just love to pick their brains and, you know, kind of get inside their head and ask them all sorts of questions about what it's like to be, you know, an icon who can make really good changes in the world. So those are the 2 or 3 that I would. Also, I just want to have a peek in the Duchess of Cambridge's closet because her clothes are awesome. How am I chosen for a role? I audition on ACX for a lot of stuff, and you guys see me on a lot of books, but the funny thing is about 50% of the books I auditioned for, or like a little bit more than 50% of the books that I actually auditioned for on ACX, I don't actually get. A lot of the times authors seek me out, and now that I'm really big into the duet and dual narration with my husband Eric, we are really sought out as a duo, and I also continue to work with the authors that I have worked with as a single voice as well. So that's how that happens. Do I have a recording routine? Yep. I get up whenever that is, because being self-employed, it's a double-edged sword. You have to get your butt out of bed, but you also have to be your own boss. So when I roll out of bed, because I don't have kids yet, I just have 2 little fur babies, I get up, eat breakfast, hang out for a little bit, let my voice kind of wake up. Sometimes if I go into the booth too early, I have to come out because I'm still like in sleep mode, which I usually am a lot of the time, but usually in the morning it's really bad. Usually if I'm doing a guy role, I will, or like I know I have to do guy parts a lot, I will go in early in the morning because my voice is lower, so it's easier to get into that male headspace, you know, because it's a little weird trying to do a man's voice as a female, but in the morning it works a lot better. So then I brush my teeth. For whatever reason, I just have to brush my teeth after I eat, and I have to put my Carmex on my lips because it's just a routine, just that lip balm, and then water, and I go into the booth, and I pretty much say, okay, here we go, and just start recording. So that is my routine. Do I research accents for a role? This is a great question. Yes, I do. For some of the strange ones. I have a tendency for my Eastern European or Russian to sound very French, and then usually British or English RP, like British RP, or Scottish I can pretty well do well. I should be able to do it pretty well. I am Scottish. But again, I watch a lot of British documentaries, so if I have to do an English accent, I'm pretty well versed. And I'm reading over half of the things that I've been booked for, I have read in a British accent. So that accent I have no problem with whatsoever. If it's anything like a Latin accent or a Spanish Madrid accent, I have to research those and listen to those before I go in, just so I have a recall. Or again, like I said, my Eastern European Russian really likes to turn into French, which I can do a really good French accent. But I gotta pay attention really, really closely to the Russian. You know, to each their own. But yeah, so because if you get an accent wrong and you get a native speaker listening to this audiobook, they're gonna be like, oh no. Or you have some people out there who think they can do accents who really need to actually do accent training, who should do accent training before they are able to say, I can do this accent. So I usually don't try to do an accent that I'm not comfortable with for a long period of time. British I'm okay with, Scottish I'm okay with, French accent I'm okay with. Anything other than that, I try to keep it as minimal as possible for my own sake and sanity. How do I prepare for a dramatic scene? Wine. And just really getting into the headspace of the character. Now I say wine because usually if I'm reading a really heavy book, I'll come out and be like, oh, I need a pick-me-up, so wine. But I don't usually drink in the booth. The only book I've had to drink in the booth with was for Indebted series. Pepper Winters killed me on that one. But yeah, you just really have to get into the headspace of the character because you want it to sound as real and authentic as possible, especially if your narrating partner, if you're working in dual or duet, is giving it their all. You need to be able to match that emotion that they're giving so you can kind of play off it. And it's acting. It just goes back to acting roots and being able to recall moments in time where, yeah, this is a crappy moment or a breakup or, you know, a heartbreak or an animal dying, and you know you kind of have to use it. You have to use your life experience in acting to recall those emotions. And sometimes, in some instances, like in the Indebted series, I didn't have to recall anything. I felt everything Nyla was going through, and it hurt because I was in love with Jethro. I was like, oh, if you were real and if you could be my husband, this would be awesome. But you're not real, which sucks, but I can pretend because I'm Nyla's voice right now. So in my mind, it was happening. So that's how that happens. I typically record my narration in my closet because I'm not rich and I don't have a whisper room yet. That is on the future big projects once student loans are taken care of and, you know, we have a house. But right now, the closet works perfectly. It's a walk-in closet surrounded on 3 sides with clothes. And then we have a porta booth in there, which you can buy. We made our own, which is a really good sound silencer. So now we go into the booth and it's pretty much our little mini whisper room. Have I ever been recording a scene and messed up to the point where I've had to stop or start over? If I can't start a chapter within like 4 takes, I just have to stop, erase the entire line and say, okay, brain to mouth is malfunctioning. These 2 things have to start to work together. Eyes read, don't become dyslexic like I am at times and flip words around. So yeah, it's all basically depending on the day and depending on how well focused I am. Some days I go into the booth and I have to focus myself like anybody does their job. You kind of have to, you know, have the moment of, okay, mouth doesn't want to work today, but we have 4 or 5 chapters to do, so we have to get this done. Focus. And usually that takes a moment, and I'll read through a couple of the pages first and out loud, and then I'll go, okay, we're there. That noise, if you can hear it, is my cat trying to bust into my room. I'm in my bedroom because my husband and his friend are playing Ghostbusters, the video game, out there. So I am in here. So, Haru! Knock it off. Yes. Heather, I'm sorry. I would be drinking wine. I'm drinking tea because I go on vacation very, very shortly, so I'm saving up all of my bad habits of eating greasy foods and, alcoholic beverages for then. So I have tea because I have a feeling she'd ask me, why are you not drinking wine? It's like, because I usually drink wine all the time. And it's like, well, I'm going on vacation and I want to wait for the vacation to indulge. And I'll send pictures, Heather. Don't worry. Do you make special marks on the book beforehand? If so, how? I don't, because I did 6 chapters today, about 3 hours worth of recording, so my voice is a little shot. So I do not mark my book. I don't have a book. I do everything on a Kindle. And I guess you can make notes in a Kindle. I don't usually have to mark anything, beforehand or not. I will, however, write out the chapters, like chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I will put like a little dash to check mark it off when I'm done. And then I will also put how many page numbers on my Kindle it is next to it. So if I'm having a crappy day and I'm supposed to be doing 3 or 4, 15 to 20 page chapters, I might say screw it and look for the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 page chapters and do a whole bunch of them instead, just to make myself feel better. Because when you finish a chapter, it's like, oh, whew, chapter down, yeah, go me. And it's really hard to feel it after, especially with those 50-page chapters, man. I think the longest chapter I've ever recorded, oh, somebody doesn't know how to open their car door. I think the longest chapter I've ever recorded was an hour and 20 or 15, and I believe it was in one of the Indebted books, and that had to be done in 2 big chunks. Like, I had to do it on one day and then another on the next day, because it was also an emotionally intense scene, and my voice started to go halfway through it, so I had to stop and continue on the next day. So it's nice to get those little victories. It's also fun when an author writes really consistent chapters and then all of a sudden in the middle there's that huge long chapter and you're like, oh, they tricked me. So that's always fun. Do I drink while narrating? Only time I have drank while narrating was on the Indebted series. Sometimes my auditions, I'll find them on ACX after I've had like, it'll be at night, and I'll see an audition come through on ACX that I really want to audition for, and it's after a couple of glasses, but nothing too horrible, so I'm able to do that. But yeah, Indebted, I needed wine. How many times do you need to read a chapter to say, I'm okay to do it? And how many, okay, so I'm going to do this one first. How many times do you need to read a chapter to say, I'm okay to do it? I usually one-shot all of my chapters. If I do get the book beforehand, some of the authors will hand me the advanced read copy, the ARCs. So I'll read those through, usually because I'm just I'm a huge fan of the authors that I read for anyway, because I'm an avid reader, and I love to stay up on what is good and hot in the market right now, because I'm also an author. So that helps me. And I also just like to read it for my own pleasure. Some books I don't. But a lot of the times I do read them beforehand just because I like the author and I like their stuff. So I'll read it. I've even been known to buy the books in paperback after I've read the books just to have the pretties on my shelf. How many times do you need to read a steamy sex scene? Usually once, with a lot of giggling interspersed throughout, probably because I have the mind of a 15-year-old boy. I should say the maturity. I have yet to make my list of favorite lines used in sex scenes that are just ridiculous. I'll have to make that soon. But yeah, usually I can get through a sex scene in one go. Unless it continues on to the next chapter and say I'm done for the day. Then that one will just continue on tomorrow. Sex scene... This next question is funny because we get, as narrators, we get a lot of questions. Is it hard to read a sex scene? And the answer is no. Does it get interesting when narrating a sex scene? The only thing I think about when I'm narrating a sex scene is thank God my neighbors can't hear me, and thank God my mom's not going to be listening to this. So, those are really the only two things that I think about. And yeah, it does get interesting. Especially when you're dual narrating or duet narrating with somebody. I knew it was funny with Will and I because we didn't really know each other until like halfway through working on the series, and I actually met him in Tennessee when I used to live in Tennessee, so that was awesome. And you know, good friends and whatnot. And then working with my husband on all the other dual narrated books that I've been on, it doesn't get interesting, it gets funny. Because then we get to compare notes, like, did you see what they wrote on, you know, blah, 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 and say that? I'm like, yes, dear, I've seen this a lot. Because he's relatively new to the audiobook industry, but he's gaining speed, like, super quick, which is awesome. Because that means more work for us. But yeah, we'll compare notes, whether it was believable, ridiculous, or, you know, really good, that sort of thing. How long does it physically take to produce an audiobook? So for me, it all depends on if I'm working with Eric and the word count, which equates to how long the hourage is of the book. I can get a 4 to 6 hour book done in a week's time. That's usually about 20 to 25 chapters. So if I do 5 a day, I can pretty much knock this out because Eric, bless him, does a lot of my editing for me now because we're both so busy. He'll edit the dual narration ones that we do, and then because I still have audiobooks that I read by myself, so I will go through and start recording those smaller ones, and he will edit one for me while I do the other. So yeah, it takes time and it's tedious, but it's not really that bad. Now a book, we did Crown of Lies in 7 days, and that's a giant book. That's a big book. I was impressed. Pepper was impressed. I was impressed. But it was a lot of work, and it was tiring because we wanted to get the book out as close to release as possible. So yeah, it just depends on how long we have, how much work we have also going on around it. I think this month we finished a total at the end of this month, because I have 2 in process right now, about 6 or 7 audiobooks in a month. So, we busy. Do you have a go-to character voice, or do you base them on the character descriptions in the book? I will ask the author if there's anybody, like a movie, like an actor. I almost said movie star, that's so 1920s Hollywood. There's any actors or actresses that they are thinking of in their head, because some of them do, or if they have like a quality of voice that they want for that character. I'll ask the author always first off. For reoccurring characters in series like Nyla Weaver in Indebted, and then Pimlico in the Dollars series, Elle in Crown of Lies. Let's see, I did a 9-book series for Chrissy Peebles that was a lot of recurring characters. that just kind of moved into my head, and you get the feel of the flow of the book, and the characters just come naturally, usually. Because my Pimlico is not really that far from Nyla. She's just a little quieter and a little bit more timid sounding, or not so sure of herself. And, usually what the authors tell me is what the character has been described in the book as, so. I used to do all my own proofing, editing, and mastering. I still do for a lot of projects. My husband, thank God, like I said, bless him, has helped take over for that, because he is like a master engineer, and I just love being able to have that time to either record extra or write my own stuff. So that's really nice. How many edits do we go through? I go through, usually I record, then I go through and I take out any and all doubles that I might have. So to indicate a double, say I have to redo a line, I click a pen. So I basically go through the chapters and take out all of those doubles. And then I will do that usually one day, and then the next day it's just so easy, smooth sailing to go through and bring, do the noise reduction and make everything even, and listen for any background noises or inconsistencies or clicks or something like that. So yeah, usually I listen to it, and then Eric listens to it. So we have 2 pass-throughs. And then of course the author will listen. Haru, you cannot come in right now. I am working on a video for people on the interwebs. He's a big black cat. He was like this big when we got him, and now he's like a panther. I didn't expect to get a small dog out of a runt of the litter, but we have a small dog. And he can open doors, so I'm praying he doesn't open that door, because he knows how to jiggle the handle just right. So yeah, back on track. Once the author gets it, we always encourage the author to listen, because you should listen. It's your baby. Listen and see if we did it properly, which we always do. And then it's kind of like, as an author, when you write something so many times and you are editing it, sometimes you don't even realize that you spelled what or the wrong. You've just looked at it so many times. We might not realize that we said Kira instead of Kara, or Dean instead of, David, or, that's what I think I did a Declan. It was supposed to be Declan, and I said Dean because I was working on 2 different books with the male leads as D's. So it's just good to have the author go through and verify that. My favorite character, I can only pick one. Nyla Weaver. I feel like that was a trick question, Heather. We all know. Nyla Weaver, because I got the role of Nyla about 6 months after I started reading audiobooks, and it was one that was pretty lucrative, and I was like, oh, this girl is Pepper Winters. I'd always been more of the historical fantasy, Regency, Victorian romances. So, and I have read 50 Shades of Grey, and I have read a few dark romances before that. But then she put me down a rabbit hole of all these authors like Althea Ramage and C. Reese and Kay Webster, whom I'm now reading for. It's crazy. But that role really threw my, I don't want to call it notoriety, or like put me on the map as an audio narrator, because it's this huge series and it's an iconic series. It deserves a Netflix TV show, if you're asking my humble opinion, because it's just that good. So that she was really my favorite character. I really got her. I really understood her. I really understood her anxiety, because I have anxiety and I like to run. So, and I love horses. That was a nice twist. seeing the polo aspect in Wings and Jethro, and I mean, what's hotter than a guy in breeches? I mean, not too much. So yeah, she was definitely my favorite. And then the chemistry and the relationship building between Nyla and Jethro was just so, it was slow and it needed to be slow. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So yeah, Nyla was my favorite. What do I do to celebrate after I finish a book and or a series? Wine. Always wine. And sometimes, like, when I got done with the epilogue of Indebted, I kind of was sad. Like, I was like, there's no more. They're done. Even their epilogue was done. So going forward to record for Thousands here in a couple of weeks, when Pepper is done with it and ready to ship Thousands off, it's a treat. It's a super treat to be able to see those few chapters of Nyla. And it's going to be really special to be able to connect those worlds together, and I'm super excited about it. Like, you have no idea. But yeah, wine. Wine and binge watching some kind of TV show. Do I listen to audios? And if I do, which are my favorite books? I don't listen to audiobooks. I never have. The closest I've gotten to an audiobook are the little golden book on tapes when we were kids that would come in, like, with the book so you can follow it along, and when it dings you turn the page, and it was usually a Disney story or a fairy tale or some kind. That's what I'm used to. And I've obviously, my dad likes audiobooks, like Dan Miller's 48 Days to the Work You Love, that type of stuff. So I've heard audiobooks, but I really love the feel of a book in my hand. Like, I have a Kindle. I never read off my Kindle until I became an audio narrator, because it is so much easier to look at that screen and have it propped up and read that way. So my favorite audiobooks, I would have to say the ones that I do. And not necessarily just because, you know, it's like, oh, that's me, I'm awesome. It's basically, wow, okay, that came out of me at that moment. That's really good. Like, just listening to it objectively and listening to you and your partner, if you're duet or dual narrating, it's really interesting to hear, and to hear it all come together and finished. I actually think my favorite audiobook to date, well, obviously I love the Indebted series, but The Boyfriend by Mika Jolie is coming out, and Eric actually took the lead on that one in our duet narrating, and I just did fillers for Corey because it was all in Dean's point of view, and it's fantastic. Like, he was born to play Dean Conrad Morello. There we go. So that one I actually think I will listen to when it's finished and done. It's almost done in the editing phases, guys, so it's coming. So yeah, just a little gnat keeps flying by me. So that wraps up the questions that Heather had, and they were great questions. I'm actually saving them for my husband so he can do his own Q&A. Boom. I have my computer in my lap because I'm in my bedroom, and I thought that my multitude of tutor and English books would look right in the background. So things that are happening. Quick update with me and Eric and all that stuff. Bunch of Lexi Tim's audiobooks are coming out. They're going to be going bang, bang, bang. One of the ones I'm really excited about is About Love, #1, and it has Eric in it doing a Russian accent. So for those of you who are big, you know, what do you want to call it? Crusaders for Destroyed or Russian Mafia books. I can do a Russian accent. We have yet to get Thousands. We are still waiting on Thousands. But of course, our Queen of the Dark is still working on Thousands. So that will be, I believe, done probably here in a couple of weeks. And the audio will be to you ASAP. What else? The Boyfriend is almost finished, which would be great. The Whispers and the Roars is currently in ACX Purgatory. We don't know when that's going to come out, and that was by Kay Webster. And I'm thinking. I have a bunch of Vanessa Vales coming out. They'll be out soon. The Bridgewater County series, the contemporary. Really good. Really easy, quick listen, so Cowboys, that's all I'm gonna say. So that's all with me. Thanks for having me, Heather, and I hope to hear and see from you guys soon. And if any of you want to contact me to read an audiobook for you, you can go find me on acx.com under Kylie Stewart, or you can go to my website at www.kyliestewartauthor.com. You will find me on there. It says author. I have all my audio stuff, or my Facebook, which is either Kylie Stewart or Eros Audio. And that's it. So, have fun, guys.